a request from dauntless request, dauntless from bottom of the heart to from very inside, from bottom of the heart bones, and then making request to change Lama Genesis from ourselves. So we include again the numberless helpings from then from each of them one has received all the happiness, all was one happiness, numberless happiness from beginningless rebirth from each of the helpings. Then present all the present happiness from them, all the future life happiness, all the future life happiness from each of the helpings, and then the liberation from samsara, ultimate happiness received from each of the helpings, and then the enlightenment received by kindness for each of the helpings. So they are this kindest, most dear, most precious one in one's life. Every single day, so the helpings. Kindest, most precious, dearest one in one's life. Then think of their life, how most unbearable suffering, even for say second, even for 1 second, it's like like some eons, the most unbearable, experiencing this 8 major hot suffering, cold suffering, and 6 level suffering, so forth. Is most unbearable. Even one helping, is thinking, even for live a day, but even minute, second is most unbearable. Can't stand. Now there are numberless of them. You see, that suffering. So can't stand. Even 1 second can't stand. Must liberate from oceans of samsara, suffering and cause, karma and delusion. Okay, bring it to enlightenment as possible. So now the numberless hunger ghosts, and from each of them, one has received all the happiness from beginningless rebirth, from the unmeasurable, kind, precious, dear one. Now on top of all the present happiness, now much more kinder and precious. Dear. And then on top of that, you see, all the happiness of future lives received from each of them. Much more kind, precious, dear. Then now ultimate happiness we receive from them. Total cessation of all the oceans of samsara, suffering and cause, karma and delusion. Unbelievable how dear, kind, and precious that. Now on top of that, then the enlightenment, one receive enlightenment about their kindness. Now they are the kindest, they are the most dear and most precious one in my life. So then they think of the nature of their life, they could not find a drop of water or a spoon of food for hundreds of years and thousands of years. So this is how this stuff most unbearable. See, So even one preta, how much suffering, can't stand, even for a second, it's like suffering, it's suffering so unbearable. So now the numbers of them can't stand it, much far much unbearable. Okay? No, so that. So experiencing the three obscurations, outer obscuration, foot obscuration, inner obscuration. So most so this must liberate them from oceans of suffering, bring from enlightenment as possible. And then the numbers, the animals, then from each of them, then I receive happiness from beginning lesser, but from them. That's also unimaginable, kind, precious, they are incredible, dear in my life. And then on top of that, all the present happiness, much more kind of precious. Now, on top of that, all the happiness of all the future lives are received. Unimaginable. Now, ultimate happiness I receive from them, from each of them. The cessation of oceans of samsara suffering, including cause, karma, and delusion. Then now I receive from the now I receive the ultimate happiness, full enlightenment. So each of them, the most kind, most precious, most dear to me. Every animal, every insect, every mosquito, most precious, most dear, kind of you say that. So then now think of their life situation. So most unbearable, unimaginable suffering, ignorance. Didn't being eaten by another one, you see? Always like that. So fear what they have, you see, constantly. So while they're looking for food, all that, then you see, at the same time, with all the fear of being attacked by others, is unbelievable. So all the time. So even the bird, even the small bird, so while they're looking for food, they have to look at the 10 directions. They have to look at back and forth everywhere, you see, while they're looking for food. With fear, showing a fear of being attacked by, you see, by other birds, by the animals, so that. So anyway, most, unimaginable that I say, the fear, life, constantly living with that fear, being eaten by the attacked by others, you see. And then one looking food, I say, most amazing, see. And then and then on top of that, see, on top of that, see, so I must mention again. So we are born human being now, didn't you see? Born human being now, didn't you see? At the moment we are human being. We have this human body. We don't have that. We don't have those kind of fear constantly every day. Doesn't have that. See, being attacked by somebody else constantly, or looking for. Then at the same time, unable to find food. At the same time, unable to find food. This is amazing. So that. So it's like compared the life, we are just like liberated, kind of like that. You see, unimaginable, say, wow, peace of the, incredible freedom of the happiness compared to them. By looking at their life, you see, imagine. So anyway, so therefore, most foolish, not practicing Dharma, life without practicing Dharma. Then there's more, as I mentioned already, not a day, There's no more foolish than that. There's no more foolish than that, more ignorant than that. So as Shantideva mentioned, the great Bodhisattva Shantideva mentioned in the Bodhisattva Guide to Bodhisattva's Life. Dinde tawa nye jujin dagi kekun machin ngesong dungal kumang wa tadaki jija yes. So after I found such like this, freedom, tawa, after I found such like this great freedom to practice Dharma, you see. It's 8 freedoms, tawa je. So that includes 8 freedom tendencies like that, you see. Like if I don't train say my life in virtue, so when I'm born, you see, in the lower realm, so the suffer, you see, totally all the time ignorant, totally ignorant. All the time ignorant, you see, during that life. All the time ignorant. That time, what can I do? There's nothing. There's nothing what you can do. Nothing. Nothing you can do. Nothing. There's nothing what you was born there. Once you're born there, then nothing. There's nothing what you can do. There's nothing. Can't say. There's no escape. There's no protector from the suffering. So that so therefore it says it's a most wise most wise one to while we have this not only precious in the body, but you see the most precious, which has 8 freedom to practice Dharma and 10 richness to practice Dharma. So these 18 precious qualities. Each freedom, each endowment, richness one has is more precious. And every second, each freedom, each richness that we have is more precious than sky filled with diamond, gold, even which granting jewels. Even sky filled with the witchcraft jewels. So without the human body, just having that, you can't achieve. Just from that, you can't achieve. Stop rebirth to lower realm and achieve higher rebirth. You can't do that, and cannot achieve ultimate happiness, liberation from samsara. You can't achieve that. Can't get realization from that. Just having that realization of the Four Noble Truth of so and then you can't achieve enlightenment from that, you see. and more. The 5 hearts temple is whatever the tantra path, general stage, complete stage of the clear tantra path, having sign, not having sign, center semi nature. So cannot go no way. That. So so like that. So, but if one doesn't have even doesn't have even slightest jewel, say, even one doesn't have even one say dollar or one rupee or yeah, but if one has this human body, even one doesn't have one rupee or dollar, but if one has this precious human body. You see, this which is 18 precious qualities. Yeah, then even in 1 second, even in 1 second, you see, you can create the cause of, you can achieve. You see, you can create the cause of happiness, future lives. You can create the cause of ultimate happiness, liberation from samsara. You can create the cause of the full enlightenment, great liberation. So you can do that even in 1 second. See, with this human body, especially this called 8 freedom, 10 endowments, you see, you can achieve it even in 1 second, you see. So anyway, so with each freedom, with each endowments, you can achieve any of these great meanings, happiness, future life, liberation from samsara, full enlightenment. You see, even you can create a cause that in each second, you see. With the end of the freedoms, with the end of the richness, you know, the 10 riches, Jorwachu. So that is it. So, that. So, for example, then, as I normally say, the reason to prove that is Milarepa, who did not have even 1 rupee, you know, didn't have even one coin, and but he had this. Precious human body, then you see, so able to practice, and then you see, achieved full enlightenment, complete party, achieved full enlightenment in a very brief lifetime of degenerate time, you see. So like that, yeah. So then not only Milarepa, who achieved enlightenment in one life, in a brief lifetime of degenerate time, it's not only him, but then so many others. Lama Zopa was disciples, so many others happened. So, yeah. So because they didn't have external wealth, but not it's very clearly explained in Milarepa's life story. Didn't have one rupee or one coin, but but it achieved full enlightenment because use the body, human body, for Dharma. So that you see. So same with us. Exactly the same with us. So we have the same the human body. So see, we can do the same thing. See, so, like Milarepa did. You see. So so therefore, how each freedom, how each richness that we have, how this is most amazing, most precious, most amazing, unbelievable. Yeah. So in every second, this wishful feeling. You see, every freedom, every richness, in every second, an unimaginable wishful feeling. See, unbelievable. Then the value of the wish. Sky filled with the wish granted jewel, is nothing. That's nothing. See, the value is nothing. You compare the value of your human rebirth or your each freedom, each richness, each endowment. So that. so yeah. So therefore, what I said is that not practicing Dharma, this life this is the no. There's no more foolish than this, or there's no more ignorance, no greater as ignorance than this. So, so the animals how they are so, they say kindest, most dear, more precious. So same here, all the human beings, same, there are numberless human beings, not only human beings in this world, and Eastern continent, Western continent, Southern continent, there are numberless human beings in each of those. There are so many human beings in each of this world, 4 continents. Then the 8 small continents, and there's one universe. Then there's numberless universe. So like that, you see. So there are so many human beings in each of those universes. So every human being is yeah. From demon, one has received. I have received happiness from beginningless rebirth. Happiness from beginningless rebirth is numberless. I received from each of the human beings. Almost unbelievable. How they are kind and precious and dear. Unbelievable dear. See, on top of that, all the present happiness I receive. Now, much more kind and dear, more precious. Then on top of that, all the happiness, all the future lives I receive from them. For every human being, including. So that means, you see, even the person whom you hate or who hate you, you see, and including that person. So, receive all happiness lives from every human being. Then now, what unbelievable kind of pressure. Now on top of that, now on top of that, the liberation from samsara is the ultimate happiness from each of the human beings I receive. Now, much far more greater kind, they are how most dear and the precious they are. Now, now on top of that, full enlightenment, great liberation I receive, the cessation of all the mistakes of mind, and the completion of all the realizations I receive from each of those, from each of the human beings, from each of the human beings. How they most kind, the most, every human being, most kind, most precious, and dearest one in my life. So then after that, think of the nature of their life, how the suffering. And then you see, yeah, suffering of the rebirth, suffering of rebirth, so much days we don't remember. Even that is about this life. Not talking about past life experience, but talking about this life suffering, but could not remember. So you see, even this life experience can't remember how can't remember. You know how your consciousness took place in the fertilized egg in mother. How your consciousness went in the mother's womb can't remember. And you see, all the 9 months experience could not remember, and even coming out cannot remember. So there's so many things what one did during child time could not remember. Childhood time could not remember. So like that. So as far as something happened, but it's not. But you see, could not remember. So there's unbelievable things, so many in the life. See, so so some say, even same day, or you see sometimes forget, what one talked this morning, or sometimes even you see forget. You see, even the same day, activities, what would lead you. I think that anyway. So I say. So that so anyway, suffering with the suffering of the old age, suffering of sicknesses, then all that, then the I say unable to, I say the suffering fear meeting enemy and suffering worry fears not meeting the desirable objects, friends or the possessions, whatever you see, and then the everyone found. You don't even one found do not get satisfaction. So that's that's the nature of the seeking of attached to the because attached why you can't get satisfaction. The samsara enjoyment. You see, we can't get satisfaction even when found. Why couldn't get satisfaction? Inner peace, happiness is because of the attachment. because the grasping, clinging to the samsara, you see, pleasure, you see, samsara professions. So because that. So that's the rolling, as a Rolling Stone mentioned, as a Rolling Stone expressed with his guitar, with his long guitar. While he was playing his long guitar, and then you see, so he expressed his own. He didn't make it up. His own experience. He's experiencing his own experience. His own heart. So he achieved fairness in this world, known by young people, old people, everybody knows him, and then you see most famous, and then also wealth and everything. You see, having so many friends in the world, so everything achieved. All these things happened. But he didn't get, but you see, his experience is he didn't get satisfaction. He achieved, everything happened, but he didn't get satisfaction. So that's what the real dharma. He's talking about the real dharma. He's talking the real dharma. Okay. So expressing, you see. He's expressing the real dharma. So the painful life. You see, painful life. You see. You see, couldn't get satisfaction. All this meant to be, to get satisfaction and inner happiness. I mean, that's an incredible peace and happiness. It meant for that, but in reality, become more miserable. You see, instead of finding more satisfaction, more peace, become more miserable. See, more dissatisfied. Why more dissatisfied? Because you had everything. Why more dissatisfied? Because you had everything, but didn't get satisfaction. Because you had everything, you had that much more. You see, achieved, but didn't get satisfaction. So therefore the suffering is so much. So therefore suffering is so much. You see, but if you didn't gain, see here there is, if you don't gain the fame, if you didn't gain that kind of fame known in the world, somebody said there's a lot of water. So then I clean two waters, one water here, one water there. So anyway, so I could carry on. So, so because if you if you didn't achieve that fame, that fame not in the world, and the world and the, all the so many people knew friends. I mean, all the things what the normal people in the world look for, you see, to achieve. So he achieved. But if he didn't achieve those, you see, the dissatisfaction will be less. If he didn't achieve all that, you see, dissatisfaction will be less. But because he achieved all that, what you're supposed to look for, you see, happened, but didn't get satisfaction. So therefore, this is the one why the mind is more, why there's more suffering, more dissatisfaction, more painful. The life becomes, see, is that. So basically, so that you see, so let's see, so the whole why the life become like this? So many people, after you become famous actors and singers, all that, why so many commit suicide? You see, why so many people end up their life commit suicide? It's because of that. It's because of that. You see. So all these things, what the normal people are looking for, it's achieved, but your heart, greater peace, happiness is not there. Oh, it didn't happen. Which is expected, but didn't happen. Didn't work, didn't happen. So that's why the greater, I say, the worry, and the mental pain is dissatisfaction greater. So you have to understand why greater. Who has incredible wealth and all that, famous, and see, and then the beggar in the street, they don't have that much worry. They don't have that much worry as the very famous people in the world. Is the world is bigger. You see, the beggars in the street, because they don't have much big expression. Just get food every day. What you just enough to fill up the stomach. You see, every day just enough. You get food and it's okay. That's it. So there's not much to hope something. There's not much suffering. Or somebody's becoming more rich. Somebody becoming more rich. Can't compare. You're becoming weaker or smaller. Somebody else becoming all this. Say wealth and by the families. Say who's becoming more successful, has able to make more money. So all that things. So you see, try to now. Also, you want to be best than others, but not. You see, there's always so much worry, fears of losing, or you become small. The others become more powerful or more famous. The more people follow. There's so much worry in the life. So. So the beggar in the street doesn't have that. All that incredible mental worry, fear, unbelievable, it doesn't have. So you see that. So I would think there's more peace there. There's more peace in the beggar in the street. You see, so that less worry, more peace. You see that. doesn't have that, or doesn't have that ambition, goal, you see, to become famous in the world, or to be more worldest person in the world. I mean, all that things, see, all that things. So, anyway, good idea. So that. There's not so much, you see, attachment to grasping. So that's why more peace. Why they have more peace than that. But these are other people who achieve those things, you see, then there's so much grasping mind, I mean, to become better than others, have more power, more wealth, more famous, other things, you see. So they're not happening. Why there's so much worry, fear, so much misery. So why suffering happening like that? So even one has achieved, see, yeah. So because the attachment, grasping, then doesn't experience this. That's why it's the greater, or expected to greater peace and happiness, but it's not happening. The greater unhappiness, greater dissatisfaction. So like that, okay. So that's the root. The root whole thing is the grasping mind, because the grasping mind. Once the grasping mind, the attachment went away, once cut, once it went away. Whenever the grasping mind, whenever you're able to cut that, whenever that, you see, away from whenever your mind is relieved from that, you go, wherever you are, whether you're in bathroom, whether you're outside, wherever you are, you found just there satisfaction. You found inner peace, happiness there, just there, wherever you are. So the minute when that attachment, that grasping mind, that painful mind, you're able to, your mind, see, you're able to be free from that. You're able to let go or cut, see. So by remembering impairment is death, nature of the life, impairment is death, or knowing the how samsara, nature of how samsara, see, samsara perfections, pleasures, how it is nature of suffering. Then that helps to not get hallucinated with that. Looking at it is real pleasure, real happiness. And so that hallucination, you see, the grasping mind doesn't happen. Then you're free. You say, let it go. You see, it goes naturally. You see, it goes away. And when you see the natural suffering, you see, not real happiness. That's samsara pleasure. You see, samsara natural suffering, samsara pleasure. Yes. So this natural suffering, say like that. So, when you think that, when you realize that, then that grasping mind, the painful mind, grasping mind, attachment, so stops. So like having a thorn, went inside the flesh, like when inside the flesh, you see. I mean so like that is pain. You see, when the thorn is there, there's a constant pain. So once the thorn is gone out, no pain. You see, so the grasping mind, as long as one has pain there. So greater grasping mind, the greater pain. So like that, you see. So that's why a person who is really practicing Dharma, such as the Milarepa, had nothing but practice Dharma. How we're talking about unbelievable peace and happiness in the heart, so much happiness in the heart. So that because that you see, yeah. Yeah. So many other Dharma practitioners, the greatest meditators, you see, how they talk about, their mind, heart living in incredible peace and happiness. So it's like that. You see. So yeah. Then the so then human beings see. Then the say yeah. Could not get it. Even one found the object of desire, but couldn't get satisfaction. See, that because the grasping mind, because that is so could not get satisfaction. So the so I think the diabetes, I have diabetes, so I think diabetes must be shortcomings of attachment. I think the diabetes, the shortcomings of attachment was to the food, you see. Shortcomings of attachment to sweets. That's it. Now you can't eat the sweets, you see. So the now you can't eat the sweets. So there must be, I guess my assumptions must be, the shortcomings of attachment. Too much in the food, you see, sweets in the food, you see. So yeah, so much like that. So then when the diabetes, so when you get diabetes, you can't eat food, you can't eat sweets, So I think. So however, I mean that's. I just mentioned this as an example of shortcomings of attachment. Just so that one can use this as an example to understand all the rest problems. All the rest problems of life, which is shortcomings of attachment. Okay. So yeah. So then the sufferings of aggregates, there's 5 types of suffering aggregates, you see, and the sufferings of death, that. Then you see, yeah, so 8 types of suffering are explained in the human. So anyway, the suffering of pain, all these 8 types of suffering, these 8 sufferings, suffering of pain, you see, then suffering of all this suffering pain. So then suffering of change. This temporary samsara pleasure is a suffering of change. Okay. So all the pleasure, all this pleasure, pleasure of sleep, pleasure of food, pleasure of music, and all that. Pleasure of sex, pleasure of whatever, all the rest. See. So the pleasure of beach, pleasure of so one person, he used himself as bullets. Himself used as bullet from one mission to shoot very far. Quite a long time. One person uses. I think this is what he chose himself. Then you see one person in London, I think. One person wanted to be eaten by. He wanted his body to be eaten by another human body. He wanted his body to be eaten by another human body. So he put in the website. He put in the website. It's unbelievable. This is a unbelievable karma. Can you imagine? Unbelievable karma. So he put in the website, and he found a person. Somebody accepted. Somebody accepted to eat his body. Yeah, he found. He expressed the wish, but somebody found. He did find somebody to eat his body. So the person came the person came, then I think start to eat what? I don't know. Start to eat I don't know, from the stomach or like I'm not sure what. Maybe put some the pen numb. Maybe to numb, to make a numb. I think for the person to eat that. So start like that. So he found a person, and there was not so long. I think 3, 4, 5 years ago. I think 3, 4, 5 something like that. So it was amazing. That's karma. The person did express and found the person to eat. It's amazing. It's karma. So yeah. Anyway, so I guess I guess he's looking for pleasure. He's looking for pleasure. His way of looking pleasure is like this. That one. Okay. So anyway, yeah, that. And then this. What else? Then the pleasure, as I mentioned first. Then your hands fastened with wings. What do you call that one?
Hang gliding.
Hang gliding.
Hang gliding.
Hang gliding. So anyway, the hands you bind with the rope, with the wings. Then you run. Then many times I think. Then many times you fall somewhere and so anyway, the samsara pleasures, all those, and then all the natural suffering. You see, all the natural suffering. If it's a pure happiness, then should be developed higher and higher. See, for example, here say, for example, sex or eating food or many of the pleasures. See, by continuing that, it should be more hour goes, you have unbelievable pleasure. Pleasure should be increased. But after a few hours, keep on eating or whatever. So the next day, each day and night, the next day will be unbelievable. So anyway, so that's not happening. That's not happening, and then so can't increase and cannot continue. Neither increase nor continue. So it becomes suffering or pain. You see, after continuing. You see, so hurting, so the great discomfort. You see, so it's continue. So that is because at the very beginning, you see, there's hunger. You see, there's hunger. Compounded by action. Hunger compounded by action, not eating food. You see, so you start to eat food. So stopped the action, not eating food. You see, which increased this discomfort, which is hunger. You see, so that was stopped. So the another suffering stopped from great. Another suffering began from small. So when you start to eat food, then immediately after first spoon of food, the discomfort starts already. But it's very unnoticeable. It's very small, unnoticeable. It starts already, but it's very unnoticeable. So the more you continue to eat, the discomfort of eating, you see, gradually develop. Then you become more noticeable. So it started from very beginning after one spoon of food. You see, so another suffering stopped. Another suffering stopped from great. Another suffering began from small. So to that feeling, then we label pleasure. You see, pleasure. See, pleasure is eating food. Pleasure. See, like that. So, but then if say if it's so therefore, if it's real happiness, not labeled on the suffering feeling. Other suffering stopped from great, another suffering began from small. Then label pleasure. If it's not like that, if it's like the cessation of the karma and delusion, and then you have ultimate happiness. You see, forever, everlasting, forever. So that's the pure happiness. So that you see. So here, so this, yeah. So that's why, because pleasure is the label on a suffering feeling. So therefore, it doesn't increase. It doesn't continue. So that cannot pleasure doesn't increase. Cannot increase it. Neither increase nor continue. So that okay. So therefore, that's how samsara. This gives an idea to understand all other samsara pleasures. How it is natural suffering. How it is natural suffering. Then you see all the samsara pleasures, all the natural suffering. Then you don't get attached. You don't get attached to that. Then you are able to. Then you are able to achieve. Then you have no obstacle. You see, tying you samsara. So then you are able to look for higher happiness. That gives opportunity to achieve. You see, higher happiness. The higher happiness. This is the cessation of the not only the cessation of the suffering of pain. So like I mentioned 6 types of suffering of human beings, suffering of pain, you see. Then not only that, not only cessation of that, but a cessation of samsara pleasure, you see. That. See, not only that, and then not only that, and then the pervasive compounding suffering. So pervasive compounding suffering. So this body mind, you see, under the control of karma and delusion. See, there's a creation of karma, production of the karma, the cause the karma and delusions. Yeah. So say. So this is this body mind is totally under the control of karma delusion. So this is why this body mind is natural suffering is that. So pervaded by suffering. See, now next meaning of pervaded by suffering. So in Tibetan you see kapa duchegi dungal. So this aggregate is contaminated. So this aggregates the mind is a contaminated seed of delusions. Imprint, you see. So then that in the daily life you don't practice mindfulness, and so you don't practice meditation. You see, to protect, to keep the mind in dharma, to keep the mind in renunciation, to keep the mind in bodhicitta, to keep the mind in right view. You see, emptiness. So you see, in the very nature of the phenomena of the emptiness, ultimate truth. You see, mind doesn't meditate in the things. So these things. So therefore, so there's no protection. So you have no protection. See. So then when we encounter objects, beautiful, ugly, indifferent objects, you see, when we encounter, then because there's no mindfulness, watching the mind, there's no meditation, protection, that's not done. antidote. You see, protecting the mind is meditation is not there. So therefore, then the delusion rises, ignorance and attachment rises. Then you see, yeah, that you see. Then you see, then you see it produces karma, leaves negative imprint in the mind, and that then you see, then that produces it's the negative karma. Then you see, of course, it leaves negative imprint in the mind, produces rebirth in the lower realm, and all the sufferings. You see. So then, all the delusion, then the karma, the virtuous action done, and that leave karmic imprint in the mind, and that throws future rebirth in Devahima rebirth. You see, like that. So then you see, then you so that seed of the delusion compound and this life suffering, body of the mind, all the karmic imprints you see from past. And then is that. And then that compounds also, because compound future rebirth, so compounds future life sufferings. Rebirth, and future life sufferings. Okay? So this is seed of the delusion. So that's how then this, I guess, you see, the pervasive compounding suffering. So compound this life suffering, compound future life suffering. So therefore, therefore here, when you see. When you discover the samsara pleasure is not real happiness, you see, it's only natural suffering, then you look for, see, so you look for greater, you don't look for samsara pleasure, you look for real happiness. So you look for ultimate happiness. So you're looking for ultimate happiness. So once you achieve the ultimate happiness, you see, the cessation, total cessation of the karma, and nyamamba, later nyamamba, the disturbing thought. You see, the totally cease that, then you never experience suffering. You are free forever. So here, dharma, ultimate happiness, you see. Ultimate happiness, what you achieve through Dharma, is just one time work, one time effort, and one time work, one time accomplishment. You see, all of that. Forever you have, forever you possess that quality. You see, that liberation. So that ultimate happiness. That's the enlightenment. You see, after seizing the subtle negative imprints and which project hallucination, true existence, so forth, you see. And then say, which, total cessation, that, and completion of all the qualities. So, full enlightenment, okay? Then, of course, the last one, the realizing the real suffering. So in Hindu, even in Hindu, the realization of true suffering and true cause of suffering. You see, the true cause of suffering. How this is natural suffering. See, for example, we're in the desire realm. We're in the desire realm. See, the desire, the external, external object, form, sound, smell, taste, tangible object. So they see, in the Hindu, without learning Buddhism and practicing, even just by Hindu religion, you can you can see desire realm, you see the sense pleasure, all nature of suffering, even Hindu. So the peace, you see, all is suffering. Then even the form realm, where there's no suffering or pain, you see. So even that pleasure, you see, derived from meditation, all is nature of suffering, you see. So and then you see you go, then you get born a formless realm. That's get bored of even the samsara pleasure. Then you look for indifferent, formless realm. Okay. So then they say like that. So you have, even in Hindu, you achieve renunciation. You see, first form realm has four Nangataya, limitless space. Limitless space. Then second one is Namshitaya, limitless consciousness. Then next one, Jiyameva, nothingness. Then next one, Siddhi, Chitta Samsara. So even in Hindu religion, you achieve you see the through six analysis. Each took six analysis. I just said six analysis. Then you meditate. You see so they look at the form realms, natural suffering. Then better the formless realm. So then they born the limitless space. And then limitless sky. Then then you look at that, grows. You see, natural suffering. Then look at the next one is limitless consciousness. Better, you see. Then when you reach that, and then through six analysis, through each six methods, you see. Then you look at that, how the natural suffering. Then you look at the next one, nothing is more better, the better state, mental state. You see. Then when you achieve that, then you achieve that. After you achieve that, nothingness. Then you look at tip of the samsara is better. You see, more picture that's more better. Look at that, better, and then the nothingness is natural suffering. See, so that so now in Hindu, here the problem is that tip of the samsara, when they reach there, then you see there's no higher samsara realm where they can, by comparing, they see the tip of the samsara nature of suffering, and the next one, you see, better, more peaceful, better, you see. So we don't have. So therefore, then I say, don't have that. So since the way they realize each realm has nature of suffering, you see, then form realm, there are four levels of form contemplation, form realm, then the formless realm, four. So the last one couldn't get, in Hindu religion, can't get satisfaction. Can't get renunciation to that. Can't get renunciation to that. Can't let go the attachment to that. Can't let go renunciation. See, because there's no higher realm of samsara. So. So then you abide in that, you abide in that. Then when your karma finishes, you see, then you get reborn, hell, hunger, animal, even whatever, going past karma. So that. So we have been through this. We have been through this desire realm numerous times. We have been form realm numerous times. We have been formless realm numerous times. Formless realm numerous times. So, we have been through these numerous through meditation. You see, born form realm, then through meditation, born formless realm. So we've gone through this numerous times. The highest realm of samsara, chiva samsara, So that. So, so now, because in Hindu religion, that the how say doesn't describe, you see, the how the type of samsara is natural suffering doesn't say does not explained, so that and then you see, so you have renunciation to all the rest of the desire realm, formless realm, the three. The only the last one, couldn't get renunciation or some renunciation to that. Couldn't say unable to say mind free from attachment to that. See, so so you need to be free, to be totally liberated. Then you need renunciation. See. Realizing through the samsara is all nature of suffering. So that's not explained there in Hindu. And then also, the wisdom, directly perceiving emptiness is not explained. Emptiness is not explained there in Hindu. See, so therefore, there's no method there's no method that. You see, to directly cease the anger attachment, to directly cease. You see, the cause, the root of the samsara, the ignorance, holding the I self, while they are empty. While they are totally empty, do not exist from their own side. Exist but do not exist from their own side. Totally empty from their side. And then they see holding on the I, ignorance holding on the I, apprehending the I as existing from its own side, as real I, independent one, existing from the side, not merely labeled by mind. Reality is merely labeled by mind. They exist. I exist. I, the self, exists, being merely labeled by mind. So this ignorance, root of samsara, root of all your sufferings, the ignorance holding the I as truly independent, truly existing from the side. Real one. Then the aggregates, you see, existing aggregates which do not exist from its own side, which is totally empty, but projecting it to existing from the side, and believing 100% that's true. So the ignorance. So a realization of emptiness is the only one can directly seize this ignorance. Then the delusion, see. Cause of the delusion, what ceases directly, say, by only wisdom realizing emptiness. So now here you need wisdom directly perceiving emptiness in order to in order to get liberated. They say from samsara, from the tip of the samsara, you see, you need that realization. Okay, like that. Wisdom directly perceives emptiness, which directly sees the defilements. Okay, discernible to the obscuration. That, so therefore, it's only Buddhist is the renunciation. See, renunciation. The renunciation. Ngejung changsim yang tak betawa renunciation Buddha to the right view. So see, so there's that. So the renunciation, you see, to the third suffering, the pervasive compound of so that one in Hindu religion not explained, cannot that suffering is not explained, so cannot the pervasive compound of suffering from where suffering, pain, suffering, change rises. The foundation of those two other suffering. So this pervasive compounding suffering, kappa to chikitungan, or then there one not explained in the religion. So, so this is only special thing about Buddhist that you see how you how you can be free from samsara. You see oceans of samsara, suffering and cause, karma and delusion. You see this. This can be free from this reincarnation, totally under the control of karma delusion. This reincarnation, which is suffering. Totally under the force of karma delusion. So, so this to be totally liberated from this, certainly you have to. You see, it's only Buddhism, not Christianity, no Buddhism. See, only Buddhism. See, no other religion, only Buddhism. So this pervasive compounding suffering, that one is not explained in other religions. See, so as long as you do not know this, as long as you do not have renounced, don't get it's a renunciation of samsara. How this is nature of suffering. See how this is suffering. So then you never get liberated from this. And you see then I say that. So you never get liberated from this. So it means you're constantly in samsara all the time, then continuously suffer in the 6 realms, one of those realms continuously so that you see. So now so this see so I forgot to see, say the quotation from great Lama who composed the Guru Puja, who put together the Guru Puja, you see, based on many other Guru Pujas, you see. The great Yogasara, Telopa, Naropa, and so forth, from the four Tibetan, you see. The Buddhism, many, good yoga. So, you say, taking the essence, best of that is the Lama Zopa, the Guru Puja. So they composed this, the Pajal Shilos. So he explained this. I said, so what it means, renunciation, meditation on the suffering. This in Buddhism is mainly the renounce, the pervasive compounding suffering, kappa to jiki dunga. So that is explained in the Panavatika like this. So I say, the human beings. So this is the suffering. Then and there was sura's suffering. You see, and then I said, human beings suffering pain, suffering change, pervasive compounding. Then there was sura's same suffering pain, suffering change, pervasive compounding suffering. So the desire realm there was. Then there's a formal realm, as I mentioned before. So formal realm doesn't have suffering pain, and the formless realm doesn't have suffering or change, but it has not free from pervasive compounding suffering. You see, I guess is totally under the control of karma and delusion. You see, so that okay, that's it. See. So then experiencing very heavy suffering of science of 5 science, which are the 5 nearing science. The suffering is heavier than the health suffering mentally, so that then you see. So anyway, so the intermediate stage being there, so most terrifying suffering. That's what you see with the violence of the 4 elements and so forth. You see, so this. So the how's that? So they see. So they must liberate. All this sin means this sin means must liberate from the oceans of samsara suffering. Oceans of suffering of each realm, you see. Imagine. So, and cause karma diligence, okay? And bring to enlightenment. Bring to enlightenment, you see. It's possible. So therefore, the one must, there's no other way, accept oneself to achieve enlightenment. That's the means, okay? So therefore, that, for these reasons, we now request to generously, okay? So, Om Baba Jiri